Welcome this morning. Welcome to Amsterdam. It's always difficult to be the opener of the second day. I don't know how awake you all are, and a lot of things have already been said. And I've not been fully briefed of what has been said, so I might kind of double what has been said yesterday. But welcome anyway. I'll do my best. I was wondering when I was asked to do this, okay, who am I to talk to you about the insurance industry? I don't know very much about the industry. I'm just basically a user of it, and so maybe that's the best perspective I can actually take. What I do in my daily work, we're mostly concerned more with opportunities, because I'm working much with startups and creating opportunities for startups in the Netherlands and trying to remove barriers. So when I think of the insurance industry, I only think about risks. But so I will try to emphasize a bit more the opportunity side here than the risk. So, but I will look at this mostly from a user and an interested onlooker. Many people ask me from different sectors. I was in the aeronautics sector a few days ago. They asked me, is our industry much different than others? Are we behind in innovation? And in insurance, you'd say maybe, oh, fintech is ahead, or and in the aeronautics, they were saying, well, automobility is so much further than we are, and do you see good examples, and how can we improve? So this is kind of sector interest about how far and how innovative you are, and how well you're collaborating with startups. And in that sense, I think insurance is not much different. I don't know what's been discussed yesterday, but I see that you're trying to go from a very kind of a push or supply side driven offer to more pull, to go from dumb to more smart, maybe using more data, from transactional to more relational. You see many dismediated services and unbundled services. All of that is pretty much the same in many industries. Also, there's a call for more outside-in innovation, less than the typical inside-out. You've got your disruptors looming. I was a bit surprised. I was in Hangzhou in China at Alibaba, and they were saying that they had run this test to try and hand out insurance within 1 minute, just as a test to see if they could use their financial services and develop those further. And they tested it among their own staff. It just shows that a player like Alibaba can suddenly come in and become a player in the insurance field. Obviously, there's a lot in artificial intelligence going on. There's blockchain, but all of this is in many industries. So there's not so much difference there. I think the only thing what I do see is that the insurance industry has incredible untapped value laying on the table. There are not that many industries that already have, for instance, so much data available, and that data is often used to maybe to track fraud, but to actually deliver on opportunities to know your customer. This is something which I do find quite extraordinary in the industry, is that you would expect, where you know so much about your customer, that you would like your customer so much. When I get my health insurance, I get a whole list of things services that I will never ever use. I get an option between package A, package B, and package C, and obviously the gold package is always the one you take, because that's the one that has the few services that you really need. But 55% repayment of my pregnancy cost is not something that I would really want to. But that is actually part of the offering I get. So I think, why does the provider of these services not know that I will never become pregnant? So I think there is a lot of information there that can be used also to provide better services and to be closer to your customer. And we also see that there is this fantastic potential of going from using that analytical capability and the availability of data to go to much more predictive analytics, and to use it for behavioral change. So that's again a fantastic potential that the current regulated industry might find hard to tap into, but I'm sure there are many smaller companies, startups, that will enter into that space. And also, what is highly interesting and not much different than other industries, but still, I think what makes it really interesting, that there are huge challenges, like changing demography, but also, as this is a trust industry, is the changing perceptions of trust and how you deal with trust in the digital age. So the dooming of blockchain and whatever that will hold for the industry. But also the changes in technology. Self-driving cars, what do you insure? Do you insure the car? Do you insure, and how do you attribute liability in a world where a lot of things are going to happen autonomously, where relationships are changing, where, and how do you ensure that? How do you ensure that trust is attributed to the right actors? So I think, again, not different than any other sector, is that you're all waking up to this massive wave of innovation. Everybody now knows that there are exponential technologies and that there are new business models. So and it's always good that to wake up. And then if you are awake, maybe actually are you all awake? Yeah. Maybe if you can just stand up, because it's always good. You know, if you just move around a bit just before we get into. Because a similar thing to most industries is that there are far too many suits in this room still. I'm now wearing a suit. I think every day when I go to work I have to think, what kind of meeting am I going to? Is this the kind of, you can jump once, twice, and then you can sit down again. Okay. Is it a suit meeting? Is it a suit and tie meeting? Is this a hoodie meeting? Is this, and in the Netherlands, most of the meetings are still, people kind of wear their suit and then they, like me, cowardly, don't put on a tie. You see that this has got to change. Maybe not in your offices, but if you are interacting, if you are kind of creating environments where you want to be more open, where, like in many of these things, you know, people are looking at ecosystems and thinking outside of their organization. To have only middle-aged men in suits is not a very kind of open environment for either startups, for technology companies, for creatives to enter into. So maybe you should kind of loosen up a bit. But what do you do when you wake up? So now we know, you know, there's disruption and there are technologies and everything is basically changing. What do you do usually? Who jumps out of bed when the alarm clock goes? Well, there are few. There are very few. Most of them, most of you, you kind of try to hit the snooze button, right? And once you got that, you're so happy you're going to have another 10 minutes to sleep. Well, I think that's very typical. I think most sectors will say, oh, this disruption. You know, look at fintech. Many of the fintechs of the last decade, you didn't make it or were acquired, and all the big banks are still there. And that's probably true. But look what's going on under the hoods of the big banks. There's a lot changing. So this talk of disruption, of Uberization or Airbnb of everything, that might be overblown. There might not be this kind of, even if you just consider it from the other side, a startup hasn't have the resources, doesn't have the networks, doesn't have the processing capabilities, all of that that big companies have. So it's much easier to exist as a big company. So this disruption is a really long process, and it's actually a relatively slow process. So if you are awake and if you do get up and you don't hit the snooze button too often, there's a massive opportunity to actually take the innovations that are being developed by small companies. And it's incredible, the wall with brands that I see in the end of the room, how many startups and small companies are actually already here represented, and how many good examples there are. So you can actually take those innovations as long as you have the willingness to lead in that transition and to take the transition serious. So if you say, well, you know, we're doing really well, we're already innovating, you know, we already do our digital stuff, and if you don't consider, you know, what the massive opportunities are, then other people will see those opportunities and they will actually monetize those. So the change that's required might be much more organizational, much more cultural, and will require kind of leadership that on the one hand forces you to run your business and improve the efficiency and the optimization of processes, all of the things that big companies do. On the other hand, be much more open to the agility, flexibility, innovativeness of the startups. And in that intersection, there are many cultural differences that you have to bridge, and that you have to do also by demonstrating that you are open for collaboration, that you do give startups a real chance and you don't have the middle management crush the innovations, or that you shy away from those innovations that might actually cannibalize a bit on your core business, because that's likely to be where the future value is, and it's better that you do it yourself than to have others do it to you. So this, and now we've kind of hit the snooze button twice, and we're now actually really fully awake. You're also fully awake for the second day of the conference. I would like to wish you a wonderful second and a very inspiring day here in Amsterdam. And I hope that this, and you've all come here, so there's a big selection bias to the audience that's actually sitting here, but you use the opportunity to listen, to reach out to the startups, and from the startups to look at corporates not so much as the one you want to disrupt, but the one that actually can be a massive platform for you, as they have the customers, they have a lot of the experience, and they can actually, once you get over the cultural hurdles and the bureaucracy, be an incredible partner, incredible client for you, and that you, in that collaboration, you find massive win-win opportunities. So that's what I would like to wish you, to find those opportunities, to make those links and connections, and to have a very, very inspiring second day. So thank you very much.